Right, hello everyone. Sorry I can't be there, but unfortunately I've come up with the illness, which has unfortunately rendered me in the house. So apologies for not being able to make it. So I'm just going to make this presentation short and sweet and to the point. So if you remember last time I spoke, I discussed that I'm doing an investigation the main monetization methods found in free-to-play games. So, moving on from the last time that I presented, my research covers mainly two key points. One is user acquisition and user retention. So, let's have a look at what I have found so far. So, one thing I've noted in my research is that the UX and UI is linked to human psychology, and game developers actually use this when it comes to designing their games. Now, the reason why I say this is because has actually been proven that developers understand that there are certain elements in a game where it does grasp the users or the players' attention very effectively. Hence, why, for example, if we take the example of slot machines, as Richard has mentioned a couple of times in his lectures, one of the reasons why slot machines are so addictive for some players is because developers have actually inputted these designs in there. It wasn't just all by coincidence or a mistake. A lot of research does go into the designing of these games to grasp these users' attention, to acquire them, and at the same time to make sure they keep on playing and playing. So looking at things like if we look at, for example, the slot machines that you can download for free onto your mobile or tablet, you get things such as flashing images, the audio visuals, and the reward systems. These are all some of the key game mechanics that developers use in order to rail in the users and try their best to carry on playing. So, according to a paper written by Coivisto back in 2005, it is apparent that only about 5% of customers spend money on freemium products or services. This does seem quite a small amount, comparing that out of 100%. 95% don't bother paying, and only 5% are the customers that do pay money. But this is the case with pretty much in the free to play games. It is only a very, very small percentage of players who are willing to part with their money and happily pay the developers for them. Another interesting fact that I've found in my research also is regarding what I found is called dark patterns. So developers, according to Holding Lin and Son back in 2011, developers design deliberate game mechanics known as dark patterns within their game. So dark patterns are deceptive parts of a user interface. They're designed to trick the user into making a decision that inevitably benefits the business instead, rather than just the player. Now, it has been noted that these so-called don't know what went up there. Hang on, let me get rid of that. Sorry about that. It has been noted that these so-called dark patterns obviously do cause, in the past they have caused some problems with the users, and that reason why that is so is because developers, especially in the free to game area, they are quite aggressive when it comes to their monetization techniques. And when it comes to these, um, yeah, yes, things, and when it comes to these dark patterns, generally speaking, you have, they provide things like misdirection and like things like checkbox treachery, which, if for example, if you download and install a particular software and you don't check certain boxes, then you're going to get bombarded with all sorts of sneaky things. And of course, there's also misinformation and sometimes being naughty, terrible use of language. Not that they're trying to lie to the users, but they're just manipulating the language in order to make users think that they are taking the right thing, whereas in fact they're not. Another interesting thing in video games that you might find, they have in the design and development, they use what we call soft and hard currencies. Now, these soft and hard currencies, as the name suggests, there are two types of currencies which are used within video games, or these free-to-play video games, so to speak. So soft currencies are pretty much like the very easy currencies that become available within video games. So, for example, when you if you look at let's say one game which is quite popular. For example, Mobile Strike. I've downloaded and tested it, and what I found is that in Mobile Strike they use two types of purchasing currencies. One is the use of silver coins, which in the game it allows you to use it to purchase some particular products and certain I wouldn't say services, but they're like kind of in-game services, like for trading and such, but they're very low in value, so it doesn't have much significance. But then again, on the other side, you've got the hard currencies like gold bars, where if you use them in the game, then you gain very significant advantages, and that is, according to my research, that the hard currencies are generally, not saying that the games themselves, they don't reward these to players. They do provide these hard currency as a reward system, but on rare occasions because of the revenue benefits that it brings for developers. So it is these hard currencies that we get the players and users to initially purchase them for, and these are the ones that generate the main revenue for the companies. Now, sometimes you might ask us how these companies compete in the market without charging the players for any amount of money. So I mean that's the whole point of the idea of free to play. You built a game and you release it to the users will play it, and you're saying to yourself, okay, hopefully there are some people out there that will actually be bothered to spend a couple of pounds of dollars here and there just to buy some things. So, according to, again, a study by Holin and Son, despite the challenges observed in the free-to-play game industry, like for example the complexity of fund collection, which is in the case of freemiums and in-game purchases, the interesting thing is that very little or no recession has been evident in the market, which means is that in actual fact it hasn't really affected them much in the sense. If anything, that they are still making money. According to the proceedings of the first international joint conference of DIGRA and FDG, they have predicted that there's a potential of generating annual revenue of over $20 billion in the free to game market.